Hello. Well, that was already more stressful than I thought it would be. Turns out getting a live stream set up is more difficult than trying to do stuff in Blender. But yeah, sorry I've not had much content on the channel for a while. I've been working on another course that's going to be starting to upload sometime next week. But yeah, it's taking quite a lot of time to get it right. And I needed a bit of a break, and you know, I noticed I'm in a different house now. So yeah, there's been a lot going on, and good to be back. So I thought I'd give kind of live streaming a go because I want to cover more stuff around like my approach to modeling stuff rather than just like the carefully edited. Because believe it or not, like I actually edit these. Like the stuff that's left in is the good stuff. But like, I know that normally I work by giving you blueprints, kind of things to follow along, but that's not how I work normally. You might hear like a little noise in the background. I have a small dog who I've also prepared like a little. I just realised as I did that you won't hear anything I'm saying because the mic's turned off. But yeah, Eddie has of course decided the second that we go live that he wants attention. So can I come and say hi? You can let me get on with this. Okay, we might have to work with some Eddie barks for now. If things do get okay, we're gonna use the Eddie buttons earlier than I expected. Okay, so that's not the slickest start to my streaming, but kind of predictable. You tend to pick the moments. So yeah, what I want to do is kind of look at something more in the style that I normally work in, which is not having blueprints for projects, because they usually don't exist. So we're going to try and model this Tamiya Hornet. I want to start with on a sour sob story, but I always wanted one of these as a kid and I never got one, so this is the closest we're going to get to it. But we're going to start by kind of blocking it out, trying to work out what the proportions are and working without measurements, blueprints like that, and then we'll use my normal kind of method of creating the outlines and filling in the quads. And I'm going to try for like a mid-poly game engine sort of style. Honestly don't know how this is going to go. Not practiced anything, kind of not done much prep other than get the reference together. I just think it's a more kind of honest way of tackling this project. So we're going to start as usual by getting rid of everything, and I'm working a lot in EV at the moment. I'm turning on ray trace, and I think everything else that should kind of give us a starting point. So we've got our collection up there. I'm just going to rename this blockout. Oh, I haven't put my background music on either. I will. Okay, I knew there'd be teething problems. I'm just going to work out the best way to do that. I'm sorry that you guys are currently getting like the least slick version of it, but we will get there. And you could let me know in the chat if like anything ends up being too loud, if the music's overpowering or anything. Work to fix that. Okay, so we're going to start with a cube, you know, the cube that I just deleted. We're going to try and get some sort of sense of the proportions of it. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut this in half with a loop tool, and we'll expand out and delete these faces. And let's put a mirror modifier on. So I'm just going to move these over because it looks like even with clipping on, we're not quite touching where we need to be. So let's pick these up and it should snap into place. So now we've got a true mirror. We haven't done the bottom. Okay, So let's try and get a sense of the shape of this. So we know that the front end is lower than the back. And we're just going to try and put in like the minimum amount of cuts as we can. But it is all going to be pure guesswork at this point. And we might end up with something that is not what we set out to make, but that is also not necessarily a bad thing. So the back end so I've got reference pictures of the back as well. I'm using pure ref here, by the way, which is, I think, absolutely essential. I just really like the fact that you can float on top of your screen. So let's ignore the wing at the back for now. We'll just try and get a sense of these proportions a bit more. Maybe quite a lot of like changing back and forth, I think. We're just working in the lowest poly possible to get that sort of shape right. And then let's bring in this. That's already starting to carry more of that shape. And then we'll put a cut across. And let's just scale on the x-axis to straighten this out a bit. And I think this cut needs to be much higher, like that kind of shape. We're already starting to get something that looks like it. I think this part, my sense is that it goes out, and then let's put a loop cut here for now, and let's bring this in. These are based on, I think they're called like sand rails, and they're like things that would race in the Baja Desert races. So although these sort of buggies don't really exist so much in real life, they are sort of based on something. And let's pull this back more. Maybe something like this. I think the whole thing's looking a bit narrow at the moment, but we'll deal with that later. How's everything sounding in the chat? Can you hear everything properly? Is there anything too loud? I have tested this, but it's hard to know. So we're just going to carry on this line here now. Do something like this. I think I'm just going to scale everything out. I like that. And then we'll put subdivision in here. I don't know why I'm not getting... Oh, I do actually. Let's subdivide here. Use J to join these parts up. And then we'll put a loop cut in here. Okay. So, still not 100% on this shape yet. Let's put a loop cut in here, and then with vertex slide turned on and vertex merge, we'll pull these down. And we're not worrying about having quads at this stage. Okay. I think this roof, maybe that is like the right sort of size. I think it's just this line is still too high, and then this flares out more than it is at the moment. More like that. Okay, let's bring in some wheels to help kind of get us some proportions. And we're really not worrying too much about how accurate we are to the model at this point. We just want it to capture that feel. Great the way Blender decides that it's going to do some random scaling. Let's try it. There you go. Let's do something more like that. So there's no point in spending any time on details until you know that you've got the proportions of the model right. Do something like this, and these are going to pull out further from the width of the car. So using the mirror modifier there, and Having said that there's no point in putting any detail in, I'm going to put a small amount of detail in now. So let's scale this face down. I'm only doing it because it's quick and easy. And let's now select this edge, Shift S, cursor selected, object, set origin to geometry. Nope, object, set origin to 3D cursor. And then we'll add in another mirror modifier on top of the one we've already got. Down clipping, Y, I'm not doing anything. Mirroring on the axis, this one. Scale these wheels out. Okay, well, we'll use that for the back, and then let's just duplicate these ones for now. So we know that these need to be much bigger. More like this. So we're just being very fast with everything, just kind of working our way around. These are tighter into the body. Like this. Let's now pull this in and up. That shape. Let's just scale a little bit further. This. So I think this body is way too wide. Yeah. A little bit. Let's put something in for the wing for now. Before I do that, I reckon this body wants to tail in a little bit as well. Okay, so we're just going to select these two vertices, cursor selected, let's make a plane. And again, let's cut that plane in half. Not sure I'm snapped to the world origin. Oh, no, I'm not, because I didn't snap to the world origin. So Shift S, cursor to world origin, let's make it here instead. And we just want to do that so that our symmetry, when we cut that, sits exactly in the centre. And the X, that's great. So let's just pull this whole lot up. And then we're just going to bring these vertices in. These ones. Let's try and get a sense of what's going on at the back here. So let's pull this up. This is much wider than the width of the buggy. That's on pure ref then. So it's going to be something like this. And again, right now it's literally just to get the proportions of it, so we're not going to sweat too much about this being perfect at all. Let's bring out an end plate. Like this, and we'll extrude up, scale on the Z. And I'm just going to try 5 times in a row to select those faces, and I still got it wrong. We'll extrude those and scale on. So I think at the moment, this cab is too long. I think this is what's throwing on me. Bring this paper down a bit. You actually have like a little toy version of it, which could reference more because it's going to help get the shape right. And the back has much more of a step to it than I've created. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to take this section and let's start by extruding it up. Let's just pull this back for now. don't know how true this is, but it's definitely closer to the toy version I've got. This is where it gets a bit trickier, so I want to pull this part in now, so we're going to extrude this in on the Y. And I'm just going to solo this for now. So we'll delete these faces. Why didn't those faces? I've got double geometry somewhere. We don't want to delete that because it's meant to be there. So I'm just trying to work out how this front part resolves, and hopefully there's a big watermark over that part of the image that I need. I think that's where the suspension goes in. So what we'll do for now is we will just slide these vertices over, tap twice on G and they'll merge there. That gives us more of this kind of shape. And then I'm just going to slide these along as well. We'll slide these, so it's just a way of kind of building out that shape for now. And then we could probably flare these even more than they are. And now we're getting somewhere. So this really is my whole like blockout process, is just taking time to try and work out what on earth this shape is meant to be like. And you just kind of get a feel when it's in the right sort of space. And also this is where you actually get to be creative rather than just blindly following blueprints. You might not end up with what you started to make, but you will end up with your own design for something. Which, depending on the aim of the project, is the best possible outcome. Unless you're being paid to completely accurately reproduce something. Ignore what I'm saying. Okay, I'm much happier with that. I'm just going to save where we're at. So what I'm going to do at the end of this stream is I will put wherever we get to up on Patreon, so they'll be available if you want to jump in or use this as a basis for your own model or finish the job properly. I feel like I'm a little bit off right here, just when I lean forward. I need to fix that. Let's just try and fix this camera for a second. Yes, no. Oh. Do we go even narrower? Oh, and it has again got. No, I think it does want to be quite fat. But maybe it's just. Just something that's stopping it feeling like the right shape to me at the moment. So I'm just going to try and get a sense looking at the side. Pretty uniform down. I'm wondering if we might get a better idea if we actually let this a little bit of depth. Let's not inset the whole thing actually, let's just set these ones. Let's just delete the faces for now. We'll select these edges, pull them in so they snap. Let's do the same thing on this screen. We'll delete this. All of this is getting deleted later on, so it really is just a sense of what I'm going to look like. Okay, let's see if we can bring in our spotlights. So I'm going to make a circle and we'll keep it pretty low poly, I think, like 12. So just making a circle, And what I've done here is I've done it as part of the mirrored object. So we're going to tab out and we'll try again. I'll make another circle. Cheers for the likes to the stream as well. I really appreciate that. It makes a big difference. If you're not already subscribed, might be a good time to subscribe whilst I'm faffing about working out how to do this. The normal stuff on the channel is a lot more kind of practice than this, but important to keep your skills in by finding stuff out all the time. And we're going to end up with something. It might not be what we set out to make, but we have got the basis of a cool little video control car model already. So I'm just using simple extrusions to alter that shape. Let's extrude again. Scale, and then we'll load at the centre for these. This part definitely needs to be more, I was going to say pouty. So I'll just pull this back as well. And maybe it comes in a little bit. That's the shape, isn't it? Okay, let's do the front roll bar. So I think the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to select this front vertex, Shift S, cursor to selected, and we will make a single vert. And I'm going to extrude this along here. It's going out kind of roughly to where these front wheel points are. And let's use our mirror modifier again. I don't know why I've forgotten how axes work tonight. Something like that, I think. And let's put a loop cut in here. And I would say we're coming out from this point, so we'll extrude. And let's pull up like this. And we'll extrude it in. And I've got certain clipping, so I'll just make sure clipping's turned on. I'm hoping you can see all of the screen. I feel like it's quite zoomed in. Might need to just adjust that. I'll be back in a second. Okay, so I don't know why everything is not scaling to the right size. If I just have to put my screens, my blender smaller for this video, because I'd like to be able to see. What title? You don't see what music I listen. Okay, well that's annoying. I didn't realise it wasn't fitting to the screen properly. So we're going to work on a smaller window, but that's okay. We can make that work. Okay, so we're just going to bring in these vertices now, and let's use the bevel tool. I'm not used to working on a window this small now. It feels very claustrophobic. Okay, sorry, I forgot to speak then. Right, so we will change our vertices, and let's just bring this over. I do appreciate if you're sticking with this amount of kind of messing about. I appreciate it's probably quite annoying, but we've all got to start somewhere, right? And okay, we're back. So let's change the width of these segments over. And I'm just going to pull this in a little bit. Okay, so let's go to our curve settings. I'm actually just going to hide my reference because it's got stuck at the top. Close it down for now. Okay. I'll window over a little bit more. So we're going to convert this to a curve. And now we can apply in our geometry section, we can take our bevel and increase the depth of it. Something like this will do the job, and we'll just fill the caps. And maybe this inner part is too wide at the moment, so we'll just take both of these and scale, more like that. We'll do the same thing with these. And we're just going to pull this back and down. Okay, at least looks like we've got everything on the screen, even if I'm working on a tiny little blender window. So that's our front roll bars, and I think they're going to run all the way underneath like this. So let's pull this down like this. And let's take the vertice out of here and pull back. Why don't you want me to like that? I'm just working out what's the best way to do this. I think maybe we'll keep these separate for now and we'll remake them. So let's select vertice, cursor selected, Shift A, mesh, add single vert, and we'll do the same thing again. So I think this wants to run underneath, and then we're going to end it out top. So like this, and then I reckon this wants to go, yeah, kind of to there. That sort of looks right, and then we'll extend it back in. Maybe that's kicking it a little bit too far. And I don't know how accurate this is, but I think it'll look cool if we do something like this as well. So extrude up, and that joins underneath the frame. So maybe we'll do something like this. And we'll convert this to, let's do our mirror modifier again actually. No, let's convert it to a curve first, and then we will do our mirror modifier. So object, that's curve. And let's add our mirror in. So the only problem is our axis is not in the center at the moment. So if we take this vertice, Shift S, cursor selected, and then we set origin to 3D cursor. But make sure we've actually got the right thing selected. Set origin to 3D cursor. And then we can apply our depth to it again. Okay, so we're just going to rough in the frame. I think these wheels are too far back. Let's set a little bit further forward, like that. crazy drum and bass we got, so we skip that track. Let's bring in our front suspension forks, so maybe we'll snap our cursor to this wheel, and mesh cylinder, go down, how tall do we reckon these are? Like this for now. Rotate on the Y. Let's use this body to mirror against now. Definitely getting more that shape. Still think something is not right here. That's better. Much better. Okay, let's bring in a rear mudguard type shape here. So I'll select these two edges. I think that'll be enough to work with, and hit Shift D and P to duplicate. We'll bring these over and let's extrude down and pull it out. They don't actually cover the wheel very much, they're mainly for show. Let's see if I can bring up my reference somewhere that at least I can see it. They'll be constantly stuck up at the top of my screen now. There we go. Just going to pull this over here for bring it onto the screen when we need it, but I'm looking at this. That's kind of the right position for it. Looks like our back wheel is actually too big as well. And let's pick up this edge, and this is going to come down to, I would say, it's running down like this. And then at the back, follows pretty much the line of the entire vehicle, so I'll slide those along. And for now, let's just extrude this out. And these wheels need to come forward for sure. Be a little bit smaller. And also, let's make them a little bit more kind of bulbous than the front ones. And disappearing off the side of the screen here now. Okay. Very close to having something kind of possible. This doesn't want to be up like this though. I'm looking at this. It's almost like this part here wants to move up. I'll select it because my navigation tools are in the way. This needs to mirror on the actual body rather than whatever I was mirroring to there. And these want to come in more. I know that this is not following the line of the bodywork at all at the moment, but we will blend all of this in. I'm just trying to get a sense of how far back we are. I'm pretty far out from the... We are almost out of the centre of tracing modes. Looks like a little bit nicer as we're working. It's actually making things harder to see. I prefer it, but it's not great on screen. I'm just looking at anything that we could maybe tweak to just because at this point where I start panicking, like, it doesn't look like the thing I'm trying to make what needs to be fixed. I don't really like progressing too far until I know that we're in the right sort of zone with it. And I think I'm just making stuff up to make myself feel better about that. Let's not do that. This rear wing, let's bring this down a bit. And this edge actually needs to come up. Merge like these in this order. And then scale Y. Merge these. Actually, I'm going to scale. Merge these first. M to merge at center. And got blender crash then. Let's bring in our. Now, if you ever want to know what music I listen to, so I hope you screenshotted that so you can get some excellent recommendations. I think I'm being a little bit hard on myself. I think we are kind of getting somewhere with this. So we need some kind of shape under here to represent like the suspension. That looks like. I think these want to come up a bit. They actually like higher. They're not. Yeah, that's better. Not fully in line with the bodywork. Why do I still not quite like? I think I know what I need to fix here. Let's just try bringing this, and because of what we've done, we're actually going to have to select all of these vertices. That's funny how you just need like the odd little detail to tweak it and get it into the shape that you're looking for. Let's bring these over. Much more ungraded. Right. And then the other thing that I've noticed that I haven't really captured yet is this little kick up here, which I think is also quite key to the shape. So I'll put in a cut here and let's extrude up. Let's get this bit right first and then we'll worry about how that falls in with the something like this. And maybe I'm just going to delete these faces completely. Already making a more complicated look ourselves, excellent. So delete these. And then let's run a face like that. In fact, let's put another loop cut in. Run a face like this. And scoot over. Make a quad. It's going to take some fixing now because this is a very sketchy way of doing it. Sort of ruined this, but it's okay. Firstly, that's what undo is for. I think actually let's just delete this whole thing. So we've got this, and then these are actually, these are almost like tubes. That's the word I'm looking for. maybe we will around that instead. So let's make a add single vert. I want extrude. Always get this wrong. Make sure you're in vertex mode first. Then we'll extrude up like this, back, down. Do like this shape. Cool. Then let's bring this one over. Don't worry about anything else yet. And let's do a mirror modifier. Looking better. So this part will need to connect here a little bit, so I think maybe this is wider. And just for now, let's turn these into tubes. So object, vert to curve, and we'll just use the bevel, we'll add some depth to it. And we'll drop our resolution to 0. Maybe we'll make it 1, so we've just got a little bit. Definitely don't want to keyframe that. Yeah, that's looking much better actually. And then let's quickly, so I'm just going to duplicate these because I don't want to actually lose the ability to edit these. Turn that into a mesh, and I just want to pick up, say, these edges. So I'll pick these up, Shift and D, P, and let's delete this. And then I'm just going to extrude this across, but I'd also like to put in a mirror modifier. The subject, turn on our clipping, like this. Keep clicking off the window, don't I? And I think we can then put a loop cut in here. Delete these faces. Now we're talking. Like the thing. I'm just going to use a solidify modifier to give this a little bit of depth. And I still think this part is too low. Forward. This shape. Yeah, I mean, I don't sound convinced, but I think we're getting there. Let's do something down here. So let's cursor selected. I'm also just going to have a sip of tea because it's a long time for an Englishman to work without drinking a cup of tea. Okay, thanks again for the likes. Please, if you haven't, give us a like, because I believe this stuff really helps. And you know, don't ask, don't get. We're definitely into the aimlessly tweaking part of this session. Putting another loop cut on there. I don't know why my jump should help, because we need to connect these edges up. So we're just going to use J to join these up. And we'll put a loop cut in here, and J to jump those up. And then we'll just be able to edit this. Okay, what have we got going on here? We've got these like brackets that connect to the suspension, and the suspension's way more complicated than I've made it for this blockout, but that's okay. So let's go to the top, cursor selected, and we'll start with a low poly circle. So maybe we'll just go like 8 sides for this. This, and we'll get rid of these and hit F to join those, put a loop cut in there so then we can just quad this off. Absolutely don't need to do, just an old habit. And let's long, and then just extrude down. And how do these connect? Are they under there? I haven't got a shot the rig. Again, we're going to have to kind of improvise a little bit. I think they go into the bodywork, so let's do that. I'm also just thinking that maybe pulling these edges in might be part of the I think I like this better. We are. Yep, pick up all of those. And this is not actually mirroring at the moment, so let's hit L to select that side, and we'll add our mirror modifier. And what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of these edges, try bringing this up a little bit. Just a small amount, we will also bring up. Am I just changing my mind about the width again? B? Let's keep where we're at. Okay, so let's bring in our back shocks as well. Let's just duplicate these. So these, like a solid axle that runs all the way along the back, these are connected to the underside here, which is much more hollow than I've made it. So let's move these up and scale for now. I get some space in there for those. And then we'll pull these to the edges like this. And then if we select this one and this, oh, in fact, let's do our cursor to the world origin. And we'll make big cylinder go along the back to act as the back axle. And we'll scale it down. And actually let's select both of these wheels. Cursor selected, and we'll snap our selections cursor, bring it back over so we check where we are on y-axis, x-axis even, and we'll just set that to 0. Now we know that our axle is sitting there. maybe everything wants to come back a little bit. This axle is way too thick. Let's duplicate this, and you get like this really iconic, if a radio control car part can be a motor bulge. Do that. I'm going to bring my suspension out further now. I actually think we're in quite a good place for the basis of this. It's not 100%. I would say it's like 60% accurate, but you would be able to read from the visual language what this is. Maybe this back wing wants to come up a little bit. Okay, so is it time to start making this body shell a bit more high poly? I'm just going to endlessly tweak this, apparently. Yeah, I think we're onto something with this. So let's try and build our shape on top of it, and again we're going to end up, once we've got our polygon lines, we're going to realise other parts that are wrong. There's something not right at the back, but I'm really struggling to work out what it is, other than try more coming uniform and then a whole lot move back. Obviously going to have to tweak all of these parts to fit as well. We can actually select both of these at the same time. Go. You know what, after all of that, I think we're closer before, so we're just going to do all of these as far as it'll let me. And let's bring this back over. Let's start putting in a high poly guideline. So let's select all of these, and I accidentally made a wipeout spaceship, which is no bad thing in my book. So let's make a new vertice. So cursor to selected, back cursor to world origin, and then Shift A. Uh-oh, I can hear some snuffling. There's going to be another eddy break coming up. And let's move this to kind of roughly over one of our edges. In fact, we could snap it, but let's start here. And we're going to turn on mirror modifier first. Add modifier mirror, and we'll turn on clipping, and then we're also going to add a subsurf modifier. completely forgotten how to do that. Subdivision surface. Above the mirror. And then we can start extruding our vertices along our shape. So do something like this. And if you can't see your vertices, it's because you work alongside. Now we're going to try and get our subsurf. It might be helpful to take this and drop our viewport display. It's one of these. Where is it? Display as solid, and I think we can drop the alpha down. Doesn't want to let me drop the alpha. Well, we're just wasting time. So let's just use the pro mode. We'll just kind of carry on making that shape, and we can work out which bits we want to sharpen up later on. So we're going to bring this line across. And then look at my reference. This line at the front, I'm going to run all the way. We are basically just recreating what we've blocked out, but we're going to make sure that everything is... I'm going to need to put loop cuts in here to tighten these edges up. Down. Let's look how we're going to join these up. And I think I'm going to bring these along. We're just going to work fast, kind of dropping in. Okay, that's what we think. Okay. Hopefully we'll get to a point where we actually don't need our guide mesh on anymore. Let's name this so we don't lose it. So why is that not mirroring around? Just need to take everything and bring it. Make sure that our clipping is our mirror above our subdivision better. I want this shape to be much more kind of pointed than it is. Yeah, already looking better. Everyone. These little changes is improving. It's just a time-consuming process of we work out how we're positioned. Something like this, I think. We're just thinking about a whole 3D space. Let's bring back our blockout. We'll do the same thing. We'll like recreate this baseline underneath. Like this. put in extra edges where we need them. I'll block out for a bit, have a look at how we're looking. Put another couple of loop cuts here to sharpen this up. I'm starting to understand why people don't do live Blender very often. It's pretty hard. You don't realise how much time you just spend messing about shaping stuff. And next, this definitely wants to pull back. I think we'll connect this one. Maybe we'll connect this one. Yeah, and bring this into place. Now let's see how we compare with our blockout. Yeah, kind of there. And we are following our blockout, but we're not married to it because we don't know exactly what our final shape's going to be. Yeah, let's extrude back. Do it again. And maybe these get some views, get some where these are going. We're always just thinking about like a decent flow of our shape. This. Put another loop cut here. And what this. So I think all of these need to do underneath. This. We're really starting to get the start of this shape now. Now we need to tighten up here, so we're just using loop cuts to tighten up the edge flow a little bit. You have to remember that this is made from plastic, so not a huge amount of really sharp edges. Let's see where these run in our blockout. This is going to and again, we know we need to tighten these edges up a lot. Anywhere you've got like a sharp corner, you know you're going to need 3 edges to sharpen them out. And let's have this smooth, even if it isn't on a model. We'll extrude in here. So same thing, we're going to need a loop cut here and a loop cut here. Again, we're just going to hide our low poly blockout. And we're just checking we've got some nice edges to work with. Yeah, I think we're getting somewhere now with this. And if you've watched any of my videos before, you'll kind of know what the next set of steps are, but unfortunately we can't rush getting to them. So I don't know if I want more. I think I do want a completely squared off edge, but this is going to pull over like this. Do the same thing again on the X. Back does. So the back is actually really thin, and this is where we can start deviating from our blockout because it's much easier to create these kind of shapes with this technique. So I'm just going to hide my blockout for now because it's confusing. And what I'm also going to do is I'm just going to select these vertices for our curves version, and I'm going to hit Shift and H to hide the front part, because I find it gets very confusing when you've got everything kind of laid on top. So I'm just going to solo that, and then I'm going to sort of freestyle the shape that I want in here. Have more like And let's tighten up these edges. I also haven't saved for a while, so I'll save incremental. I always like to save incremental, so I'm keeping everything as I go. That's looking good. I think this needs to come out a bit more though. Let's extrude this out, and then we're going to hit Alt and H to unhide everything. And we're just going to look at our shape again. So yeah, we're definitely getting something kind of... I mean, it looks a bit like a speedboat, which I think is sort of the reference for this design. Just bring these in too. And let's try and work out what happens where... Oh, what a good answer. So we'll unsolo this object. And I'm just looking at my toy version, and it's actually like this part here, I think, is where the guards start. So maybe the ones that we've got in our blockout are way too... Let's do something like this. Actually, that's pretty nice. Tighten up these cuts. Get our blockout body again. I'm starting to think that all of this part is too narrow at the back. And it should be more. And every time we make a tweak like that, we also need to look at what other vertices are affected. And things are a bit messy at the back here at the moment, so we're just going to select all of these and scale on the Y to just sharpen them off again. And okay, let's assume for now that we've got this where we want it to be. And we'll turn back our... So I'm not going to worry about the fact that these are not currently lining up with the back, because I think I've gone way too far with the... I think so. I'm not confident now. Let's bring in this edge. And we'll try and work out where this is going to go as well. I think I want to join these edges together. I'll make something like this. And then let's... I don't know how much I want to pull these out. I'm going to go a little bit further than that, I think. And then let's take this top point and let's follow roughly where we want the mudguard to go. And I think it's a good time to go it alone again. Because yeah, this is a really cool shape. So let's go with this for now. If we're following what we've got, this is going to need to come out a lot further, so because we actually want this top of the mudguard to fine. Whatever we end up with, we're going to end up with something interesting. Let's take these, and we're just going to hit Shift and D and duplicate down. And then we will combine with this vertex as best we can. It might snap in because we've got... No, really. Just center. And at some point we need to work out where all these parts join. So let's select this and this and hit F, and we'll make a curve. Pull these back a little bit. We're actually not far off the point where we might be able to start turning these into quads. And filling in our bodywork, but we are designing like the entire flow of this, so we just need to go slowly, steadily. So merge at last. And maybe I'm just going to delete these for now. And how does this back part connect up? Well, maybe it doesn't. Let's extrude along on the Y here, and pull it all the way back here. Maybe we'll just delete these for now, and we'll hit F to merge like this. Likewise, we'll get rid of these. And we'll hit F to merge like that. Now we've made all this space and that we put some of our mechanical stuff, and I think we might even go further in. Here to shoot. And I probably wouldn't normally start filling in the quads, but I think because we're doing this live, it'd be a good idea to make things a bit more interesting than they currently are. So let's put in a face in here, and so the entire approach is to hit F to make a quad. Let's turn off our X-ray. And then we're just going to try and make sure that we've got quad geometry running wherever we can. So we've already hit an issue here, so I'm going to put a loop cut in this. And we've got the same problem here, so I'll tackle that in a minute, but we can turn this into a quad. And likewise, we can turn this into a quad. The same here. And we just want to have a look and check that our geometry still looks nice and flowing. And we're also just going to right click and shade auto smooth. So things are looking pretty crunchy right now, but things will smooth as we go. Also, really important tip, make sure you've got face orientation turned on, because already all of our faces are facing the wrong way around, so we'll flip those. It doesn't make a huge difference right this second, but it would be an issue moving forward. So let's put an edge here, and then we're just going to look at what's going on here. So there's not really any reason for this to be down here. Let's bring those up. And we'll put a loop cut in so that we can then quad this off. The reason that we do this approach is that we're working out what are our key lines to this shape, and we're not letting anything else define where we're putting the cuts. So we want to basically use the smallest amount of geometry to achieve the results that we're looking for here. We're going to turn this into a quad for now. I don't know if this is the way forward, but I'm just going to merge everything, merge by distance. Something seems a little bit off here. Like I don't understand why we're not perfectly smooth. Just pull this above the mirror. No, it's not that. Got some kind of issue, and it might just be that we don't have enough geometry and everything's a little bit green. In fact, yeah, let's turn up our fade smooth, something like this. Okay, so nice and smooth at the moment, and we're going to find that we're going to put in more loop cuts as we go. So I want one in here, which immediately means we don't need this edge. Let's just undo that, and we'll dissolve this vertice, and then let's put a loop cut in. I just want to tighten this edge up, and that gives us a quad here now. So with this method, there's a lot of reworking what you've done. Again, might be frustrating for you, but it's worth doing. Let's dissolve this vertice for now and make a big quad there. Turns out we didn't really need that vertice, and then I think we can just go up to at least this point. These at the moment aren't really doing anything, so let's get rid of those vertices. We're also just looking for anything where things look kind of stretched and strained. Like, we're always looking for like a neat flow. does seem more like we're making some kind of Star Wars thing at the moment, but that's okay. And I just want to tighten this shape up. And actually, yeah, we will make this base shape, but at some point we need to put these parts in, and I think we'll do that when we turn it into a separate object. So right now we're just looking at how we're going to make our mesh. We're going to need a loop cut that runs through here, and we need to watch this front, but let's quad this up first. So what's best to do is dissolve this edge actually, and we'll make our quad here. Just going to see the side view that we've got like a nice flow here. And this is a sharper edge. And let's do the same thing here. And then now we can put this in. So that's fine, but now if we go to the top view, I've made this sharper than I might want it to be. It does actually work for this design, so maybe I'm going to keep it, but like these vertices, move all of these over and you'll see just sharpening up the front a little bit. We've not got any weirdness going on. And so let's now, because we don't have any sense of what this looks like, go into our side view, and I probably want it to follow that line for the most part. I'm happy with that. So let's put the vertice in here, and we'll connect that to here. And again, we need to work out what shape we want this to follow. So let's say, and we're now definitely into the realms of me just making up a design, but that's okay. Let's say we're going to do something like this. Check our side view, and we need our vertices to match up, so one in here and one in here. Again, let's just look at the top view and check that we're happy with how this is flowing. Definitely make like a softer, yeah, maybe something like this. It's just a case of looking from every angle and just checking that you're kind of okay where we're at, and then eventually we'll just commit to putting some quads in. And that should also let us quad in this part and this part. And things are maybe looking a little bit pinched in places. Don't love this transition here. You see that this part is strained. Got a bit of tension on it, so we just want to eat up. And we might want to tighten this up. This might need more of a kick in it. I'm starting to think it does. So let's bring this in, and then another loop cut here. Sharpen this edge up. Go to our side view. Check that we've got that looking the way we want. And this is like the essence of division modelling, this understanding about flow, and when you have lots of vertices close together you can get more of an edge like we've got here. Maybe we'll just put a matte cap on this a bit. See what's going on there. You can see how the reflections hit that now. So when you've got things really bunched together, you get much tighter edges, which sometimes is exactly what you want. But then if you're wondering why your model is looking lumpy, the trick is always to just like reduce the amount of vertices or increase the amount of space between them. So yeah, we're making some good progress here now. Let's put a loop cut in here so that we can find a home for this. And let's also do this part, so we're just going to join this up with the F key, and we're going to need a home for this. So a quad here, and this gives us a nice flow here too. Then this is also a quad. So we're good there. And let's join this one to here for now, and then we're just going to slide these with the Back up more. And if we put another loop cut in here. And, oh yeah, that's actually on the wrong edge. So we do have a decision to make in a minute. This looks a bit off at the moment, so let's have a look at our top view. And I think what I want to do is space these out more. And that will stop this feeling like it's got a crease in it. Always looking if we're like ruining the flow. Definitely some tightening up we can do, but for the most part. But what we don't have in our favour is we don't have an edge down here. So let's cut this in with a knife. And that's going to sharpen up nicely on this top part, but it's going to leave us with a bit of a problem down here. So again, our options are, I think our best bet, run this down, and then we'll just have to deal with placing this. So we can keep pushing these back to give ourselves more space. And if we just move these over as well, so slide these over, you'll see we're getting much more of a crease in there now. This markup is way too shiny. Let's just go to our top view and see things are looking a bit messy here. Do this. Okay, let's carry on for now, because quite often you find that issues that you think you've got resolve themselves. But I'm just going to select these 4 vertices, loop tools and space. If you don't have the loop tools extension on, I would highly recommend it. It really helps with this sort of stuff. We're just going to space these, and it will space them out evenly, which is going to make our curve much softer. Let's carry on now. So let's put a quad here by making a loop cut. And then we've got another one here, and we'll do the same thing here, loop cut here. And again, we need to find a home for this. So, big chunk of this filled out. I'm just going to right click and shade alters. And I'm going to have a look at this flow, because you can see we've got like a bump. Let's have a look at the top view, and I already don't love the way that. Tie her in, and then annoyingly we're going to need a loop cut in here, I think, to up on that edge. So we're going to do the same thing again. We're just going to select all of these. Sharper edge on here, and then at some point we're going to have to make a decision about sharpening this edge, but I don't want to do that yet. But let's see where else let's fill in these side pieces actually. I also haven't saved for a while, so save, see. It's gone very cold now because we're an hour and a half into it. And let's reverse C in here. We can just start filling in this back section, not like that though. And At some point we're going to need a loop cut down. We could also start to join this together. So let's put a loop cut with Control and R in. And we need to decide if we're happy with that level of creasing everywhere. But so we'll merge it last, and things are going to get a bit gnarly for a while. Again, I actually think this crease is pretty faithful to the original. It's a really good idea to have a look at how everything's looking as a whole. Let's turn off our body blockout. Yeah. Coming together nicely. And now let's have a look at how we're going to turn this into the shape that we want. We could probably get away with this. And I don't think we need this vertically. Dissolve this. And I'm also going to dissolve this for now, and we'll bring it back when we need it. So you can see that we've got our faces flipped here, while we're getting this weird shading error. Let's let both of these flip. So, definitely going to need to bring in some more edges. Oh, we'll hit F, and then we'll put a line in here. We can that quad, and that quad. So, think about this shape. I really want to put kind of seeing it smooth. This is good at the moment. I don't like how this is evolving. Let's see what we can do with that. More about how the shape looks. See what I mean? It's like we've got a crease here that we don't. Whole thing over. That's better. It's not perfect, but good enough for us to move forward with for now. Let's run this in. I am starting to play computer games on stream because I will level with you. I'm finding this more difficult because I spend a relaxing couple of hours making this model. You're very aware that people are watching you do this, but you're getting wrong. And it's less fun than you think, but we're making some good progress. That's the thing, it's really important to show your workflow and the mistakes that you make, because literally everyone is mistakes, or no one is getting it right straight away. Just making sure that we've got enough loops vertices to quad these off. Let's make a quad here, and I can just add it. Pretty cool. I honestly thought we would be a lot further through this process tonight. It's not a problem that we're not. But we'll probably get like 50% of this model done, I think, by the time. So I was planning to go till 10. I think by 10 I have this section of bodywork finished. But Oh, apparently my audio is very low. Okay, I'll just see if I can bump that up in. Little tweak behind the magic curtain here. I can't. I already can't do this. Let's see if we can bring up the output. See if that's any better. Yeah, let me know if that sounds any clearer. And yeah, it's absolutely possible to model a car without blueprints. That's kind of what I'm attempting to do tonight. I mean, blueprints are easy. There's plenty of videos on my channel. If you look at the low poly 205 model that we make, we start with the blueprints, and it's just a case of taking the time to get them set up right. Because, like everything in 3D, the more time you spend getting the first bits right. Oh, cool. Thanks for your help with that. Oh, I recognise you from the Discord. That's much appreciated, you coming to hang out as well. Thank you. Yeah, the more time that you can spend getting the blueprints set up, the better, because sometimes they're not accurate as well. So what I would suggest doing, and again, it's like the process that we follow on the course, is I'm just turning off subdivision so I can see what's going on here. Is to kind of get the proportions of the model you're making. So just literally look up the real life dimensions of the car and drop in a block that fits that space, and then make sure that your blueprints line up to that. And then also look for like common objects, so wing mirrors, door handles and stuff, and use them to line up, because I found it very frustrating when I started using blueprints that things just didn't line up the way I expected, and it was quite often because I had made a mistake. But you also just have to accept that a lot of blueprints are not accurate. So this part at the back is looking really nice and sharp, and we've got some problem solving here to do. But let's carry on filling in this back panel. So we'll just make a quad here, and a quad here. So that's all good. Let's see what our subdivision surface is saying. So we've got, sometimes when it's smoothing you can kind of lose everything. Unfortunately, we've got the right number of vertices to run this flow across. So this is going to be nice. And then we actually don't need this vertice like this. It's not doing anything, it's not defining anything, so we'll just slide it over. Turn on our subdivision. Turn on our shade auto smooth. And we've created quite a complicated shape here relatively easily, and I'm just going to put a loop cut here to sharpen that edge up. And what I think I'm going to do, because we haven't worked out how we're going to terminate this yet, is I'm going to dissolve these edges for now. So we'll dissolve these edges, and I just want to Alt Shift select all of these. Nice. I hate to be that needy YouTuber, but if you are enjoying this and you haven't hit the like button, it would be great if you could, because I know that that really helps like boost the visibility. And I don't remember to do it all the time on YouTube channels. I'm really kind of trying to make an effort now of, when I'm enjoying content, I will hit the like button, because I never think to do it, so I understand that is true of everyone. Okay, do we need this? Let's dissolve these vertices for now and just not worry about them, and then we'll decide if we need them back in. And we'll hit subdivision. So now we've got like a much nicer flow to everything. We need to think about how this bottom part's going to go. Let's bring in our blockout again. And let's just turn off our high poly for a second. So I decided that we had like a step in and then a flow down. So let's try and bring that back in again. So we'll go back to our high poly. Also, if there's stuff that you'd like me to cover in the future, let me know. Like, I kind of want to do more of these live ones, and I want it to be a chance to sort of work out what stuff people are keen to learn. I think I'm just going to extrude this whole thing in. like this. And I'm just looking at my model version of it again. Yeah, I think that's the best bet. So we'll do that, and then maybe we will just create a bit of a flow for here. So let's hit F to join these, and then we'll put a loop cut in, so that gives us more of a rounded edge. And we'll just quad that off. And things are looking a bit weird at the moment, so let's turn up a subdivision. I think it's because this is like super abrupt. So we could bring this over. I'll turn back our subdivision. And also we'll need to sharpen this edge up, that's why we've got some issues there. But so let's just join this to here. And then I think I'm just going to smooth these out a little bit. So let's just select. The thing that really changed my modelling was understanding that I could hide things, which is such a stupid thing to learn, but I was really struggling to. I get to a point, and again this is where like stuff with the blueprints ties in. You get to a point where you just couldn't see which part you were working on, and you'll get very confused. And if you just select these, right click, loop tools, and choose relax, it should just smooth that part out a little bit. Let's go to the side view, and we'll unhide again. And yeah, you see what's happening here is this doesn't make any sense. So let's select these, and let's just bring this whole thing down a bit. I just want a more natural curve to that. That's much better. And then let's just think about how this works. And again, especially if you're modelling, you know, modern cars or concept cars, there's no real sharp edge unless you see that new Nissan Juke, which is nothing but sharp edges and looks awful. And I assume they've only done it to make a mockery of, you know, us Blender artists, because it looks like something that's been made by somebody on day one of Blender. But a real trick to having like nice modern car design is to just think that there really aren't a lot of super straight edges, and when there are, there's flow to them. And so I do talk about flow a lot, but you just wouldn't get things changing angle halfway through. And kind of understanding that really changed my modelling. Okay, so we'll try and resolve this somewhere. We've got a lot of vertices here, unfortunately, and I don't think there's much of a way around, but so let's just have a look at what we've made here on the bottom and see how we feel about this shape. So we'll just Control Shift all of these. I think there's something. We do have this super sharp edge, and I don't want it to be super sharp here. So let's select all of these, and we'll round it out a bit more, and we'll do the same thing with this. Just round this edge out a little bit more, and we'll pull this one back a little bit more. Better. But we also need to continue this edge down, so can't really loop cut without making a whole new thing, so we'll just use the knife cut, and that should sharpen up that crease here. And then we might just need to slide this along a little bit and pull this out. And at some points we're going to have to make some decisions about how much we want to sharpen up, say this edge. And maybe we want to sharpen it up that much. I haven't decided yet. Let's remove it for now, but until we've finished working out how these quads are going to flow. So what are we going to do here? I think we're going to make a weird little quad, and we're going to turn on Shade Auto Smooth, and then we're going to work out how we're going to resolve everything. So let's turn off subdivision, and let's just make this into a shape we might actually want it to be. So again, this is what I mean about just thinking about how this would flow down. And I might even tweak this. So this will flow down, and then I don't think this is actually serving any purpose anymore because we've got a quad elsewhere. So let's turn on our subsurf. And this is weird because this hasn't joined. That's why we've got that shading issue there. So we'll just merge it last. And now things are a lot smoother. We might have this problem elsewhere. So it's maybe a good idea to select everything, merge by distance, and we'll just bump up this amount. Say 0.1, see if we pick up anything. But no, I think unfortunately we don't have any more issues there. So this is more because this edge isn't defined yet. But I don't want to do that yet until we've worked out how we're going to do this bottom part. So we'll select these two edges and we'll extrude in. And let's scale this one here, and maybe this one is going to connect to this one here. So that becomes this. And let's just slide this whole thing back. We're creating more of this shape. We'll put a loop cut in here. We're just going back to thinking about what this shape might be. Let's flip this back the right way. And we're going to merge this one at last. So we're just going to try and create some kind of depth. This is the other danger with working on these sort of shapes. It's like you'll make it without realising that it needs to have depth to it as well. That I get caught out by that all the time. I won't think about how this entire shape fits. And I think this needs to be thinner than it is. We've made quite a chunky part here. Let's bring this in. I'll do the same thing with these parts. And if we put another loop cut in here, that gives us a quad. So that should shade pretty smooth if we turn on Auto Smooth. It's lumpy because our geometry itself is lumpy. So we just need to smooth things out where we can. Like again, I used to get really frustrated when I'd work on these kind of models and I wouldn't understand why. I don't know why that edge is like that. Why I had lumps and creases and things, and so well, I've made them. I just haven't necessarily understood that's what I've done yet. And everything's fixable. Like if you don't like how something looks, you can tackle it differently. So let's take all of these and extrude back. And I think that's like one of the best bits of advice I wish I could have given myself at the start, is to not be afraid to just realise that maybe it's not working and you need to chuck it in the bin and cut that part out and remake it, and it will always be better. It just feels like a step backwards sometimes. But so this is messed up because we haven't got an edge coming along here, so we'll cut that in. In fact, I think you'll find that this edge, yeah, so there's a lot here that is not connected to anything. So we'll just move that out of the way so we can see it. And let's manually cut this edge in for now. can merge at last with this. So if things are getting soft, it's because we haven't got enough edges at the moment. We can now put a loop cut in here and join these up. And let's just turn off our subdivision so we can see what's going on here. So we need one more loop cut in here to make a quad. And let's do one more. And we really need to think about what the shape underneath is going to be like, but I don't know how much it's going to matter. Let's make sure I've got X-ray on. Let's, for the sake of this, say it's going to kind of fairly closely follow our mudguard. So let's see what we've got. Let's turn on our subdivision even. Yeah, I think for the most part that's flowing pretty nicely. This part here is kind of weird at the moment. There's maybe some things we can do to fix that. Let's carry on. Let's try and get this part terminated. Make sure this is a much more logical curve to it. I feel like all of this needs to come back a little bit. And what we've got here is like, I think we've basically got some overlapping directions. So this, okay, that makes sense. I understand why we've got that. So let's pick up these vertices and just pull them forward a bit. So that this edge now makes more sense. And we are nearly there in terms of quadding out this part. And again, this is where a little bit of like design language comes in. We need to work out how this is going to terminate. I'm just going to turn off subdivision again. Like, yes, this is the under part of the car, so it's not going to be super visible, but it's just trying to work out how these edges would flow. So let's make a quad here, and let's pull this up, and a quad here. And we're going to slide these up so that we can, so we could either quad down or we could quad across, and I think for this I'm just going to quad across. And I think maybe we've got some, no, everything is kind of joined up, so let's turn on our subdivision. And we've got something much softer. And we could just put a loop cut in here and sharpen it up, but then we have to think about where this goes. But I think ultimately, if we do that, we would be better off just picking up this whole edge and sliding what we already have. Sharpen up that, and then maybe we want to think about how this underside here is working, because this looks a little bit scruffy. And that is because we've got a triangle there at the moment, which we don't want. So our options are, we don't want to lose that. So we could either cut more geometry down here. I don't know if that actually helps us. What we need is to cut geometry across. So we basically need this, which could then terminate in any direction. So maybe this will be our best bet. Something like this. And then we're just going to select these edges, these vertices, sorry. Right click, loop tools, space. Right click, loop tools, relax. And then we're going to see how we feel about that curve. I think for the most part we feel pretty good about that curve. Yeah, we are getting there. Let's quickly extrude this base part. So I'm actually going to delete these edges. And let's select these and extrude, come in like this. And we'll just try and get a section finished tonight. And maybe the next video will just be me fixing all the issues that we've quickly put in tonight, but that is the nature of these things. I'm just going to select all of these. And we will relax and relax. And let's delete these edges. Let's just turn off subdivision so we can see exactly what's going on. Let's try and quad these off as well, so we'll put that edge in there, and then if we run like this, let's put a loop cut in here, and we're not connected to anything at the moment, but we can resolve that in a second. In fact, let's resolve it now. It's definitely going to help. So this one to here, merge it last, this one to here, merge it last. Yeah, much better. And then with that loop cut in there, we can put an edge in like this. And we'll make a face here, and one here. And then this can become a quad. And then I think we need one more. Yeah, I don't really want another loop cut in there yet. So let's use this actually where it doesn't matter so much. And we'll turn these into quads, and we'll have a look at what this underside looks like in a second. Turn on our subdivision. Let's just have another look at this edge flow because it doesn't look great at the moment. Well, it does, but on the model I don't love it, but maybe we just need to sharpen up this baseline a little bit. And I think I just want to flatten this whole lot out a little bit. So we'll just make sure we're selecting all our vertices. We'll just pull that down. And let's just try and work out if this has got any lumps in it. So I want a loop cut in here now to sharpen this edge up. And let's work out where this resolves. So every time you add in a loop cut, you have to think about like where you want that to terminate. And I think the best bet is to do something like this and hit J to join those up, so it'll make a cut through there. And then we just have to think about rerouting some parts. So we'll do this. Dissolve edges, and that should actually give us a quad. Oh no, we've got like a mega N-gon here, which I don't want. I'm going to slide this along a little bit, I think. What could we do to eliminate this problem? Well, firstly, do we need it? Because we could do this. And then we do have an N-gon again. So what if we just do that and turn... This is the problem, we're always making like one new thing that we don't want. Let's undo this. What can I do to resolve this? We could just do this. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So we're going to merge at last. And once again, I was all triumphant of like, I've solved this. Maybe I have. Yeah, that's a quad, but this isn't a quad. But if we put a loop cut down here, and we're going to have to cut this in by hand. And then dissolve this edge. And this becomes a quad. And we're just going to try and fix some bits as we go. Let's add a subsurf in. There's definitely some issues, but our topology is actually good. So now it's a case of just kind of, the bumps are not caused by shading issues. The bumps are caused by how we've placed our vertices, which is much easier to fix. And it's probably not the subject for tonight, but I think we're sort of at a point where I'm going to leave this for this evening. Yeah, we've got some gnarly creases here. And some of this could be resolved just by spacing out a bit better and looking at where that sits. Okay, cool. So let's bring back where we're up to so far. And we've got the fundamentals in place. So on the next stream, if we carry on with this model, and I think we will, we'll finish off the roof and then we'll do the wheels pretty quickly. I think we can actually make some much more impressive progress than we have tonight. Thanks if you have stuck with this. I'm just, having said that, I'm going to finish. I might just put a loop cut along this edge, and I remember now we didn't finish off this part, so we'll just slide this and join these, so at least this part is a little bit more defined. Yeah, thanks for sticking with me tonight if you did. I appreciate there's some technical issues, and I'll get my head around it, but I hope to do more of these. I will definitely jump on again later in the week and we will carry on. So yeah, have a good evening. Cheers for everything tonight. I'll see you later.